I'm not chasing clicks. I'm not chasing algorithms. I'm chasing genuine stories from what I like to call everyday people who do extraordinary things. And I think you definitely fit that description. And I think it's important for us as a community to highlight, I had to overcome obstacles to get to this point. It wasn't rosy. These were the obstacles. And this is what I did in response to those obstacles to get through it, so that we can all as a community have more tools to use to get us to that next level, whatever that next level is. Having you share your story, it's not perfect. You had to process your own trauma, and that had its own impacts on how you had to learn and figure things out, but you kept at it is the point. Like, you didn't give up. You continue to chase the passion. And I think it's, again, important for us to put this out into the atmosphere for other people to learn from, because I know a lot of people, that trauma, unfortunately, it's so common. We don't talk about it. We suppress it, as you mentioned, but I always say that inner child in us never stops crying. And everyone has that inner child in them that's still trying to figure out, like, or not even figure out, it's just still hurt over whatever has been established as a kid, like it's been imprinted. So I appreciate you sharing that and speaking about it from that expertise. And again, man, I'm just proud of your growth over the time period and the fact that you've been able to stick to a passion and make it through the downs and continue to move forward with what you're doing, man.
Appreciate it.
This study, I got a couple questions here before we close out about this study.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the study is a framework for race-related trauma in the public education system and implications on health for Black youth. That link is in the description. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, feel free to click that, bookmark it for later so you can give it a read. It talks about the documented high rates of anxiety and depression, other behavioral and emotional regulation challenges that Black youth face, and it puts them at risk for school suspension. I've gotten suspended from school as a young youth. It definitely, then you go to ISS. That's definitely like school jail. Like, we ain't gonna talk about ISS. If that ain't school jail, I don't know what is.
Oh, man, that's funny. Oh, man, not funny.
But I'd be curious, just given your experience as a youth and participating in a study focused on, you know, those elements for yourself, like, what were some of the major just light bulb moments or takeaways that you took from participating in that study?
My whole mindset growing up was, why am I the only one? Because, back then you don't think, you see other kids, you don't think that they're going through anything. You only know what you go through. Just being a part of this and knowing that, there were other kids that were my age coming up that went through their own trauma, that were going through some stuff similar. It made me, I will say this helped me bring up some old stuff in order to put me into a place where I am now. One piece of this that I had to do was, before I do anything, shout out to Dr. X, Dr. Dawn Henderson. She has been the most influential person as far as academia goes that I've ever met. She is the reason that I do any research that I do today. She's the one who got me into it. Before her, I didn't think that Black people did what we do. So shouts out to her. So this study, I did study recruitment. I did audio transcription for this. So that means that the kids or high schoolers or college, whomever, when they volunteered for this study, they were interviewed by Dr. X. They were asked a certain amount of questions. And I had to transcribe that audio. So just hearing and seeing, because I had to type everything I heard, just hearing and seeing what these individuals were going through, it helped put some stuff in perspective for me. Just like, dang, how naive of me to think that I was the only one going through stuff at that time period. It opened my eyes a little bit. It made me realize that the world was much bigger than myself. I had a very self-centered mentality. It made me realize that it's so much bigger than me. Everything is so much bigger than me. And that is the seed really that started the tree to what I'm trying to do. Just opening my eyes and making me say, dang, these kids or these again, these African American or Hispanic individuals, they had it rough too. It really opened my eyes, this study in particular.
I appreciate you sharing that because a couple reasons. The like that, like I don't know if it's ego, I don't know the technical term, but we take stuff so personal that we don't need to take as personal, in my opinion, at least, that often cause but the fact that we take it so personal, it makes it even more traumatic of an incident because of how we process and view the world through such a selfish or self-centered perspective versus looking at it as being a part of something so much bigger and greater than yourself. And I relate to that mindset and it shifting. And when that shifted, a lot of stuff started to shift as well, which just further, like, your experience here really does all start in the mind. And if you are in a position and you have difficulty, like exercising the mind for positive, gains, the environments around us have already sort of tricked us to make those decisions for us in ways that don't get us to where we want to go. You don't have that ability to really like own those thoughts and how you respond to those thoughts and feelings.
Oh yeah.
Like that's really such a key skill that we need to encourage and help each other maintain, or not even maintain, help each other just find it, like discover it, because I don't know if it's that common. The other thing that you mentioned, we got to have escalation tactics or de-escalation tactics, more normalized in the community to intervene when especially younger people are doing what younger people tend to do and be silly and test authority and do all of these things that are just natural to growing up. We don't need to criminalize them. We just need to manage them better so that they can learn from those experiences, in my opinion. And I think the work that you're doing is definitely helping with that sort of mission to further provide de-escalation methods that reduce that school to prison pipeline over time, because that's what's needed to do it. We got to inject it into the system and literally change it from like injecting it from within, like a virus almost.
Definitely, man. It's easy to do what they do now. It's easy to say, hey, I'm just gonna send them over here and whatever happens. It's easy to do. You, again, as I stated earlier, you really have to have somebody on the inside that's willing to say, you know what, let's try this. And again, it may take some time, man. There's some policies that I'm trying to influence now down here that's going to take me some years, but I'm putting in the ground steps now. Okay, let's put this. Okay, so for instance, right, again, all my work that I've done leading up to now deals with trauma, child maladjustment. My particular profession now is on the state injury coordinator. So adverse childhood experiences, suicide, traumatic brain injury. I put preventive measures in place to kind of reduce mortality and morbidity for those domains, right? So I contracted a licensed psychologist to create a trauma training for some daycares down here, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm in the place to where I can put things in place to try to change the narrative. She doesn't look like me, but she does amazing work. And she is part of the reason why I know so much about adverse childhood experiences, because again, before, I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know what I was experiencing was an adverse childhood experience until I got to Mississippi and got under her leadership. Again, she's someone I learned from, but we put that in place. So again, going back to, we have to be the needle that pricks the skin. And that's what I'm trying to, again, going back to assembling that table. I'm assembling a table of individuals throughout the state who is ready to put that needle in the skin and start injecting these positive reinforcers for these kids to be the best they can be. At the end of the day, man, that's what we all, that's what